Welcome to Apple Tree Cottage in the Scottish Borders. Today is Tuesday the 15th of April 2025, and as you can see I have been very busy. My table is absolutely covered with the work that I've done in the last week, though I have actually had something of a frustration which I will be outlining to you just in a moment. Slightly also a frustration this morning because we have Casper, who has insisted on having an enormous cuddle on my lap already, and a quick visit to the garden and then straight back in. And he's very excited because my daughter is coming to visit us later this afternoon, and he can't wait. However, I can't wait either, in that I really have to get this up for everyone before my daughter comes. So slight conflict of interest, which we will work round, hopefully. So as they say, bear with me. Now, I have had the weeks alternating between Come Into My Garden by Blackbird Designs and Merrily, Merrily We Welcome the Spring. Good, we might just manage to have him move off some of the work. Anyway, I have to say that Merrily, Merrily is quite an intense and, for me, a rather more slow work. So this is taking longer. It is larger as well. Don't knock over the flowers, Babby. And I'm absolutely loving, as you know, Come Into My Garden. So we have I had an aim in mind. I'm working from the top down. I have done the bottom border, and I've been working from the top down. And last time I chatted to you about Come Into My Garden, I had finished the alphabet, and my aim was to work down the side borders and part of the middle section. Now, of course, this is a great deal more work. And as I say, last week I was hindered with a problem which I'll go into, but I have managed to accomplish the two side motifs, and I have started the top of the roof. I've done the chimneys and I've started the top of the roof, so not too bad. Absolutely loving it. It's a mixture of, it's all Weeks Dye Works threads, and I'm working on 36 count vintage country mocha, though the actual called for fabric is 36 count Velt by Picture This Plus. However, I'm really loving my choice of fabric with this. Color wise, I love working with this. It's a lovely flexible linen, and I think it works extremely well with the color choices which I have. I am maintaining Blackbird Designs color choices, and you can see it's not vast. It really isn't. It somehow or other appears larger than it is. I think it's because the border really does weave in and out, and the border flowers are comparatively large compared to most other samplers, and perhaps that's why another reason I really love this. Absolutely, this is my top favorite. This is my top favorite. So this, I think, will race on and be finishing, alternating with Merrily, Merrily We Welcome the Spring, which will go on. Merrily, Merrily will go on. There's no way I'm going to finish them both at about the same time. Anyway, that's number one. Put that over there. Now we seem to be all right. So the next one is a finish. And this is the Sweet Birds Sing, and it's one of the two latest publications by Blackbird Designs. And because I have a number of other things on the go, I thought I would be really quite sensible and work on one of the smalls, which I have now finished. Now, I have changed it slightly. The fabric is Heartland, and they call for 36 count, but I didn't have that available, so I've stitched it on 40 count. So you see it is rather smaller, but certainly a lovely size for a pin cushion, and I'll be making it into a pin cushion. So you've got the two really stunning birds, not birds that we would find in the United Kingdom at all. The only bird I know with this tuft at the back of its head is what we call a peewit in Scotland. Oh, here we have a cat coming on a lap again. Well, we'll just see how we maneuver this one. Are you being a good boy? You're being very friendly, yes. The photograph, I'm sure you're all laughing. All cat lovers will be laughing. The actual name of this little one is called In the Open Field, which is a lovely title. One of the charms about Blackbird designs is the inclusion of snippets of poems and just lovely, lovely titles. I find them very attractive for that reason as well. And their original is a good deal more faded than the result that I have at the moment. Perhaps it sat in on a windowsill in very strong sunlight for a while. But the threads are markedly more faded than my result. Just to let you know, if you wanted a more faded result, you'd have to change the threads to more pastel shades, which might be quite a lot of work. Anyway, at least we had that accomplishment achieved in the last week. Now I have a lovely start. I had to wait a little bit on this start because I was awaiting the threads. I managed to obtain them from 123 Stitch in the United States. They're wonderful. They have a marvelous website which is very clear, and one of the reasons I really like using them is the fact that when you click on a sampler, they bring up what the required threads will be at the same time, so that you're not receiving a sampler in the post, having paid the postage, and then looking through the sampler threads and then having to go back to the shop and wait for all the threads. So you can purchase them all at the same time or build up gradually if you're not going to go with the entire thing at the one go. Absolutely gorgeous colours, and this is I better show you it. This is it, basket of cherries. Blackbird designs. This is one that just kept jumping out at me, and I know when things keep jumping out at me, keep jumping out, go for it. Because of course, I mean, even this morning I was going to buy another 2 sampler charts. Just thought, oh, that's lovely, I must buy it, and I have to hold off from doing that, and really because I won't have time to finish everything. And I suppose it's nice just to be a chart collector, but some or other, if they're sitting in the drawer, one rather wants to have them stitched. This is just, you know, life is a bowl of cherries. Well, of course, at the moment, because it's April, we're coming up to Easter, and as you can see, my theme for the morning is baskets, and so a basket of cherries. And it is being stitched on 32 count cocoa with Weeks Dye Works threads. Just to start on this, absolutely beautiful. It's 2 threads over 2, so it's a nice change from some of the more intensive Come Into My Garden and Anne Grant, which is what I'm also working on. So there we are with that one. Just loving that. There we are, and I will now pause. So the frustration in the last week has been that, as promised, I had been working on my own sampler design, The King of Love, and had charted it. I spent an entire day charting this and felt very pleased. And then when I came with the software to export it, I hit a technical hitch. So I am waiting. I'm waiting to hear from the software designer, and hopefully he will respond so that I can find out why I can't export it. I had worked with the software a great deal a few years ago now, and had certainly produced some absolutely lovely charts of my own designs. But my computer has changed. I had to buy a new one last year, and I'm wondering if with new computers that somehow or other blocked the export. So many apologies for that. It's not on my Etsy shop. What I did, I say that took a whole day, and that's why I was rather slowed up with my sampler stitching compared to some weeks. However, I had the itch to Sunday morning. I thought, oh no, I really want another needle case. So this is a slightly different design. You know, I just love stitching up needle, and I love using needle cases. So it's just lovely fabric, absolutely beautiful fabric. And then I've popped on some lace at the side and a little pink ribbon. And you can see this is my taste. I just love red and green, pink and green. Quite old-fashioned. I love roses. And so that's a little addition. It's very simple. I haven't even put a tutorial up for this. It's very straightforward. And you can see it almost fits, it almost matches my Anne Grant work bag that I have given a tutorial for, and this is cathedral window patchwork on the pocket. And this is the other sampler that I've been working on. And as I say, not as much as I would like to have done. And I'm trying to do a little bit each week. So where have I reached on Anne Grant? I've now, oh, you can't really even see the bee there. I have stitched the bee as well. I may change the colour of that thread actually. It's really not showing up, is it? Yes, I'm going to have to change that colour of thread. It's just not quite working, is it? So this is Anne Grant, 1829, by Shakespeare's Peddler. Absolutely loving this, and I am using silk for this. Teresa Vanette is Shakespeare's Peddler, and it's a lovely chart, really beautifully laid out. Highly recommend the sale. She's very knowledgeable. She's on YouTube as well, and I'm using for the fabric Zweigart, which I do like, Zweigart Edinburgh Vintage 3009, and it's 36 count that I'm using. It will be a large sampler, but I knew if I'd gone for 40 count, I would have taken an extremely long time, and I didn't want to do that. 36 count is definitely quicker, depending on the linen, of course. There are different variations in the manufacture of linen. So that's Anne Grant, and so we're racing through this, in fact. And so the next section is slightly different direction to samplers, but not that too far away, and that is my watercolor, which I have been doing this week. And so hopefully you'll keep tuned in while I show you my watercolor, and then after that I will be showing you my Easter baskets of knitting. So just see you in a minute. So watercolor, I feel, is very important for stitching, whether it be cross stitch or for embroidery, in that you're going, as John Ruskin would have advocated, directly to nature, and you're bringing the color, the form of the flowers onto the paper, and then gradually through the steps and stages you can end up with a wonderful article, a cushion, footstool, whatever, that has been translated for you into a chart. And in fact, I was going to make this later, but I'll just introduce this to you now. This is a book that came this week. As people know, I just love books. I have a beautiful library, and so this came this week. It's by Barbara Hammett, and it is The Art of William Morris in cross stitch. And I thought I would show it to you because here is the result of someone who looked at nature. And I feel that William had sat in the garden of the Red House, the first house that he built. It was actually, the architect was Philip Webb. And I think he probably saw a bird steal a strawberry. Now, this is a very, very famous design by William Morris, called Strawberry Thief, and I think I've even got it on a mug through in my kitchen. I should have brought that through here for coffee. Anyway, Strawberry Thief has been here translated by Barbara Hammett into a chart form, which you can then stitch as cross stitch, tapestry, or indeed on linen. It's a chart you could use for a variety of methods. Now, I have, in fact, a little while back, I think it's under Fireside and Fairytale Stitches, I went directly to the garden, directly to nature, and did a watercolor painting, and then I translated it into embroidery. And so if you want to look back on that, not cross stitch, but long and short stitch, and it's more sort of in the idea of painted stitches, and can't remember the name of the lady who's produced books by that. I'll try and remember next time. Unfortunately, or maybe fortunately, William Morris absolutely deplored cross stitch for some reason. Well, I know the reason that they say is that he deplored the handwork at the time that all the ladies were stitching, which was called Berlin wool work, which was worked in wools that had been dyed by the very new to them modern, very brightly coloured dyes that were part of the sort of the Industrial Revolution. And the William Morris brand really built and made its name on, again, arts and crafts, not back to nature, but certainly back to natural methods, handwork, and away from the Industrial Revolution. So he was sort of, in a way, a little bit of a catch-22 there. He had to say that he didn't like the Berlin wool work, and that was cross-stitch. And that's probably why he avoided the cross-stitch, because he and his company produced absolutely beautiful tapestries. So this idea that he deplored cross-stitch, probably we could sidestep that and come back with some of his designs into cross stitch. But I do feel that this idea of birds and nature is one that probably goes back, you know, millennia, but was certainly picked up by Blackbird Designs. I think not maybe every one of their designs, but most of their designs have birds. And if you look at samplers anyway, there are a great many that feature birds. And so William picked that up and used it. And I do know that Blackbird Designs have just republished some of their bird designs. So this again, it all links up. It's all fascinating, and the history is fascinating as well. This is a lovely book if you want to reproduce this lady's ideas of William Morris design. So there we are. There's one there. Can I show you that without? Her charts are lovely. They're coloured charts. So slightly sidestepping that way, but I think probably that was important to put that in. So watercolour paper, and I have very straightforward watercolour paints. Winsor & Newton is what I use. And as you have seen from the photographs in the introduction there, I have been painting the flowers in my garden. This is fritillary, absolutely lovely. I do have a white one in the garden as well, but you can imagine, unless you're painting on dark paper, that won't come out. And I have produced also, I'll go backwards, more from my garden in my monthly journal, which I did show you a couple of weeks ago. That's for March, and then this is April, and on we go and see how far we get. Now, this paper isn't as good to work on as the watercolor paper that I've used for the fritillary, and that is one reason why I'm not putting these up as cards for sale. I'm not finally very happy with the reproduction, whereas the reproduction for the fritillary I think is excellent, and it is to do with the watercolor paper that's used. Obviously it's to do with my printer who sends these out. So these are on my Etsy shop for sale, blank cards if you want them, and nice for Easter, fritillary. My Etsy shop is under Fireside and Fairytale, and the watercolor paper that I use is hot pressed, not cold pressed. Hot pressed, not cold pressed, and it's 300 GM squared, 140 pounds. I think it's important to have the right paper for watercolor. The other book that I wanted to show you, my daughter sent me this a week or two ago for Mother's Day here, which is different. I have two Mother's Day because my other daughter lives in France and they have a different Mother's Day, so I get two Mother's Day. This is Miller's Samplers: How to Compare and Value by Stephen and Carol Huber, Huber. This is a fantastic book. You don't really have to be, I suppose if you want to value your sampler, then fair enough. But the interest, I think, for people like ourselves is the photographs. They're absolutely stunning. And there we are, absolutely beautiful. Give us some ideas if we want to be designing our own, or just for sheer enjoyment. And the other reason is that they have categorized samplers, so that I've been learning a great deal. There are British and European samplers, North American samplers, that they divide into New England and then Mid-Atlantic and Southern, British darning, just the different categories, and Pennsylvania, Philadelphia samplers. So I think there are a number of copies of this book. It certainly wasn't at all expensive. It really wasn't. Now, Delaware House and Floral Samplers, I recognise that. I have a feeling that's been used somewhere else on a book cover. Just stunning, just stunning. So a book review there. And then I'll just manage to have time for my Easter baskets, which are my knitting baskets. And here are my socks, and I'm just about to turn the heel on them. So they're my lace socks. If you've been following me, you'll know. And I'm using West Yorkshire Spinners Signature 4-ply, and the book that contains the pattern, which I've knitted up now, this I think will be my third time because I love them so much, is Around the World in Knitted Socks, 26 Inspired Designs by Stephanie van der Linden. And this is Brussels, I think. Is it Brussels? No, it's not Brussels. Yes, it is. Brussels lace. That's what they eventually look like. So that's them. And then, of course, because I'm always starting something, but I do finish as well. I do actually finish things. Pink fluff. I love pink fluff. More pink fluff. This is Rowan Kid Silk Haze. I love Rowan Kid Silk. I call it Rowan because that's Scottish. If you're in England, you'll call it Rowan. If you're in England, you'll call it Rowan. And this is my, in a way, my own. It's my own, not my own design, but I'm using what's called Old Shale, which is a lovely pattern. But it's just very straightforward rectangle that I'm doing for wrapping around when I get particularly cold in the winter. I have a cold house. It's not a warm house, this. Very pretty, and I'm using 4mm Zing. I like to use Zing metal, strongly pointed needles for lace knitting. I find that the lace knitting knits up much more quickly using them. So that's one Easter basket. My next and final item for you today, because again, I just do like innovation and creation, is using one of my absolute favorite books. This is the book that jumped out at me and jumped out at me and jumped out at me for about 2 years, and then it was too expensive, and I kept saying, no, I don't think it was too expensive for me. And then it came right down in price, and I went for it, and that was a very good idea. And actually, you know, it was worth the original price, to tell you the truth. Laced from the Attic, a Victorian notebook of knitted lace patterns. That's the lady. She was originally French, and then she lived in America. I can't quite remember where. There's a lovely story. And then this lady here came across her notebook, Blanche's notebook of lace patterns in the attic. And the attic of this lovely house, and obviously worked hard to translate them into knitted lace patterns that we can use today. And I am using, I don't think I can tell you, am I using, yes I am, I just love knitting lace. This is Sibelius DMC number 20. And 1mm needles, and I started, this is going to be a little neckline for a dress. my own design. And because I love old-fashioned things, and that section there is crocheted. That's crocheted for the front. And then I went into, it's actually around that way. And then I thought, right, okay, well, I want to alternate crochet with knitting. So I stopped crocheting. I picked it up with my knitting needles, and I've gone on with the fairy, F-A-I-R-Y, fairy lace pattern out of Lace from the Attic. And it might look a little bit garbled just now, but once you've stretched it and starched it, it's really nice. So that's my, yes. So slightly surprising, a bigger variety this week. I really apologize about the King of Love chart. I do hope I am going to be able to use the software and produce more charts. But maybe that was for a time, and perhaps I've just got to give in and say, well, sometimes technology just doesn't keep up with us, and we have to adapt. And there's lots to do. I don't think I gave Basket of Cherries quite enough attention. I'll probably chat about that next time. As you can see, there was a slight diversion, and the slight diversion, not that we can really call him slight, is very happily now ensconced in his basket. I hope you can see him over there. And he will get lots of cuddles later, because he was sort of pushed off my lap today. But we have to have our priorities, do we not? So Easter is coming up for those who are going to be watching this episode now, but of course the episode just stays up there, so other people will be watching it as it goes through the year. So I will wish a very happy Easter to all of those who are watching it about this date, which is coming up to Easter weekend for us, 2025. But there's a great deal of other items for those who might be watching later in the year, or hopefully in the years to come. Now, I do want to say at this point that I am gradually building. It took me a couple of years to decide what I was going to do on my YouTube channel. And you can see that there's still quite a variety, but I just love the sampler stitching community. You're wonderful, you really are, and I feel so welcomed and so much part of a group of people who are warm-hearted and have lovely shared values with my own. And I'm finding that life is so much brighter now that I'm actually doing these YouTube episodes very regularly and committing to that. So I have reached just beyond 1,000 subscribers, which is quite a milestone. But it's very easy to look on the numbers, and I don't want anyone just to become a statistic. I absolutely welcome your comments. They're delightful, and anything helpful as well, that's great. I'm open to that. Not too much criticism though. I just hope that you've enjoyed this episode, that you are enjoying the episodes, and mostly that you are inspired. I think is the most important thing for me, that you will go away and perhaps consider picking up another talent, even starting at the beginning. And certainly that's been the case for cross-stitch samplers. For me at my age, I never would have thought that I would be doing stitching samplers at this stage in my life. Absolutely not. So you're always young, and there's always room to start something new. Start something new, even look at it step by step. Even if you think you'll never manage it, it's amazing what we can achieve. Let's see if we can all have a wonderful Easter, celebrating that wonderful meaning of Easter. And Have a great week, happy stitching, and see you again soon. Bye.